is Janice Cobb of Save My Pet ID Tag. Engraved with your pet's info, they allow emergency personnel to start care for your pets if you're sick or injured. Head over to SaveMyPetIDTag.com and explore our products. They ensure peace of mind for you and for your four-legged family.
Do you ever wonder what impact pet items made from plastic have on our planet? You can bet our special guest knows. Here to unleash some findings from a new report, it's called Pets versus Plastics, is our special guest from earthday.org. Please welcome Aidan Sharon. Welcome, Aidan.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And Aidan, we just one letter off. Aidan, Arden, Aidan. So this will be a good show.
Hopefully we don't get mixed up.
I hope not, too. Our special guest today is Aidan Sharon. He is the director, I love this title, of the End Plastics Initiative for this great organization called Earth Day. Check them out, earthday.org. Welcome to the show, Aidan.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
What a title. End Plastics Initiative. But let's back up the bus. And I'm hoping we're not doing any carbon fuel release at that point. Tell people briefly, for the three people on the planet, what is earthday.org?
Yeah, earthday.org. We're the official organizers of Earth Day each year as the largest the largest secular celebration that takes place every year. Over 1 billion people celebrate on April 22nd. We've been around since 1970, founded by Dennis Hayes and a junior senator, Gaylord Nelson, out of Wisconsin, as a way to activate the environmental movement and bring in as many people as possible, whether you're a fisherman, firefighter, an environmentalist, somebody that's just looking to get involved in your local community. We try to round them all up and get them activated for a healthier planet and for a healthier, yourself and personal life.
Well, we definitely know we have limited resources on this planet, and we have lots of people and we have lots of pets. Before we get into your initiative, I want to dive into you because I think you were destined for this career. Tell us what you were doing at age 12 with the Outer Banks.
Yeah, so I grew up on the Outer Banks in North Carolina. It's a coastal region. I grew up scuba diving. I went out and got my scuba dive certificate at a pretty young age. My parents are pretty surprised, but I was already working at that age, which is a little
At age 12?
Yeah, my parents owned a restaurant, so it's farmers' laws there. But I paid for it myself, got my scuba certificate, and then went on to pursue the environmental world because in a weird way, it was tied directly into my family's business with it being such a large tourist town. That was my initial, I'll protect the environment to protect my parents' income. And from there, fell in love with the environmental movement, pursued a degree in biology where I studied. My concentration is tertiary and freshwater studies, which is just a really fancy way.
Tell people what tertiary means.
Yeah, it's just a fancy way to essentially say wetlands. I don't know why we don't just put wetlands. It caught me by surprise when I earned the concentration because they were like, you have this. I'm like, I've just been studying bogs and swamps for the past 4 years. But from there, I scuba dived during college for the North Carolina Aquarium at Pine Knoll Shores, directly in the Shark Tank. That was a really
You were in the wait, slow it down. When you say a sentence like that, come on, Aidan. Oh, by the way, I was in a Shark Tank. What were you doing?
Yeah, I was leading the presentations. Well, I was helping the volunteers and I was leading the presentation. So I was the guy you see in the middle of the Shark Tank with a big thing on his head, basically talking.
And the one praying?
The one constantly praying and then holding 2 sticks in my hand to make sure the sharks aren't coming near me. That was my first foray into informal education.
How were the sharks with you? And what's a tip? How is
Sharks are gentle. Sharks are easy. Sand tiger sharks are they're asleep most of the time. We feed them well at the aquarium. They feed them well still at the aquarium. So they're not even looking at me. I'm also a bigger person, so I'm about the same size as them. So they don't want anything to do with me, but occasionally they'll bump into you and just startle themselves. But it's always fun to see.
You have not had a boring life. So
no.
You, in 2020, that's when you came on board to earthday.org, correct? What made you want to come for that organization?
I actually came on in 2022.
Oh,
2020.
Okay.
I was working as a wetland reclamation consultant as well as a GIS, so satellites consultant for an engineering firm. My now wife and I moved up to DC with our 2 dogs to pursue teaching initially. And then I discovered earthday.org through their climate education program, and then realized I could easily seg my way into it and just do informal education the way I prefer to do it, of just talking with people directly, talking with people of all ages and educating them that way rather than the normal school setting, which I was starting to get used to, but wanted something different, wanted something more environmentally involved directly.
I mean, I'm amazed that at age 12, you got your scuba license before you could drive.
Much before I could drive. So I was riding my bike back and forth to the dive shop. And luckily the woman and owners of the shop, Pam and Matt Landrum, who I look up to this day, and I worked with them for a summer in college as well. They were willing to let me just ride my bike to their house, carry my scuba tank over my shoulder from their shop to their pool in their backyard, and just haul it around that way.
That's dedication. That's dedication. So people love pets, and name the 2 pet dogs that you and your wife, name your wife, dang it.
Yeah,
That's her first name.
My wife, Emily, and I have 2 dogs. We have Buzz Lightyear, who's about, we think, 7 years old. We adopted him about 5 years ago. He's just a mutt of mutts. We don't know what he is. He probably has some pity in him, probably has some lab in him, probably has
How much does he weigh?
He's 55 pounds. So he's on the lower end when it comes to labs and pit mixes, but we're not sure what he is quite.
Well, there's a great veterinarian, Dr. Marty Becker. People know him, America's veterinarian. He calls those kind of dogs, ready for it? Canine cocktails.
My wife calls him a smoothie.
Oh, okay. All right. So what about your other dog?
Yeah, my other dog is a failed hunting dog I adopted while doing wetland reclamation. She is we think an American foxhound that just really didn't like to hunt. Literally didn't like that lifestyle.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I adopted her because I was working in these wetlands all by myself, about 30 miles from civilization, and was like, I need a companion. This dog doesn't like hunting, but she loves the outdoors. I'll just take her with me everywhere. And they've now been acclimating to the city, which was a hard adjustment for her, but we get her out enough that she's happy.
In DC?
In DC, yeah.
Yeah, there's good parks there, though, too. You could be walking miles in DC.
Yeah, and we typically do. It surprises my family every time they come to visit. We'll do like 12 miles and they're all peeled over, and we're just like, it's how we get around. It's how you have to do it.
Well, we've got about a minute before the break. I do want to dive in first, though, because you all reached out to us and said, look, that we have a new report, Pets versus Plastics. And let's get the overview first, and we're going to dive in after the break.
Yeah, the overview is that plastic is dangerous for both human health and our pets' health, and just the lack of regulation when it comes to the pet food and pet toy industry is just ridiculous. There's just nobody safeguarding our pets, and I think it's time that we start calling them out for it.
So you're talking about the chemicals used to be in the products, as well as the bang it gets to our planet, right? Because some of them don't recycle.
Yeah, so it's the plastic has over 16,000 different chemicals that can go into it. Very little of them are regulated, and most of them are harmful for our health, and therefore they're going to be harmful for our pets' health.
All right. Hey, everyone. We're speaking with Aidan Sharon. He is with earthday.org, and we're going to find out more about the new report that came out, Pets versus Plastics. And we love our dogs and we love our cats. We love giving them toys and other products. So we're going to get our eyes opened a bit, I think. So everybody just sit, stay. We'll be right back.
Pet Greens just donated a large amount of catnip and cat grass to Beagle Freedom Project, who recently just converted an animal testing lab into an animal sanctuary called Freedom Fields. Giving cats in a rescue access to cat grass and catnip can really help with their mood or acclimating if they came from outside to inside. And reducing a cat's anxiety really helps their chances of getting adopted. If you'd like to learn more about Pet Greens, or if you're a nonprofit and would like to request some cat grass for your sanctuary, please visit petgreens.com.
We're chatting with Aiden Sharon at CHARON. His fancy title is the director of End Plastics Initiatives. He's with a great organization that loves our planet. It is called earthday.org. And before the break, Aiden, you were telling us there's a double whammy here. We get toys for our dogs and cats or whatever. Some are made out of plastics. And you were talking about, in some cases, there could be up to 16,000 chemicals in pet products. And then you hit the hammer with very little regulation. Please expand.
Yeah. So plastic is essentially everywhere at this point. I'm sure if you looked around your room, Arden, you'd see plastic all over the place. Even
I hid my plastic water bottle from you before the show.
I really appreciate it. It just it gets set off as soon as I see one. But plastic is essentially everywhere. A lot of people don't realize it makes up a lot of the clothing we use. It makes up the carpets that we have around our house, as well as the blankets we might give our pets. And then it covers the furniture we have in a lot of cases. And the true danger of plastic is its additive chemicals. So there's 16,000 different chemicals that can go into plastic. In the United States, we only regulate 6 of those 16,000 chemicals, but the majority of those 16,000 have been found to be harmful for human health, and therefore they're going to be harmful for our pets' health, especially mammals, like our pets or like our cats and our dogs, as well as our guinea pigs,
and dogs.
rabbits.
Come on, like Lucy and like Buzz and Sally. Dogs love to chew.
Dogs love to chew. And then when it comes to plastic toys, those toys tend to break down in terrible ways once they enter into the dog's digestive systems. We have something called phthalates that gives plastic that kind of flexibility. And once that enters into the dog's body, those chemicals start to leach out. And then chemicals are entering our dog's body. The plastic becomes a different form altogether and can cause blockages in the intestines of the dog. And that's a huge danger when it comes to some plastic. That's not to include the evidence that it's linked directly to dementia-like symptoms in rats from the additive chemicals, as well as Alzheimer's. And then you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in humans, also going to be evidence in our pets. And then just a whole slew of different cancers that are caused by endocrine disrupting chemicals that are introduced into plastic.
So I'm betting that Buzz and Sally are not fed from plastic food bowls.
No, Buzz and Sally are fed from stainless steel and ceramic bowls. So their water bowl is a stainless steel bowl, and then their food bowls are ceramic bowls. And then we've started to move away from the traditional food that comes in a big giant plastic bag to making our own food with our vet's approval, going through that process, talking to vets and things to make sure we're, feeding them the proper diet. My wife and I have the means to do so. So that's what we chose to do. It's not accessible to everybody, so make little changes where you can. But a lot of the dangers with them consuming microplastic is from the food. There's so little regulation when it comes to it. Like there's ingredients that are labeled as waste products that are introduced into the pet's food. And it's literal groceries from humans that are just ground up all together with the packaging still on them. So you're going to have a bread bag that's ground up, dried up, and then thrown into that food. You also have the plastic tags that go onto the cattle. Just ground up directly with the rest of the food. And that's fed straight to our pets. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's very little regulation.
Because there's very little regulation, and I'm nonpartisan, but I want to ask you, what can groups like Earth Day do and get others to help to get some legislation that has a little bit more safety oversee of products and how they're made?
Yep, and we're nonpartisan as well. Like it's the environmental issues are nonpartisan. Everybody gets affected by climate change. Everybody gets affected by plastic. Doesn't matter if you're right wing, left wing, somewhere in the middle, somewhere so far off that I can't even name it. But I think what people need to do is what we've seen is just write letters to the FDA. We have a link on our website now that has a pre-conditioned letter for you to write and just saying, look, we need more regulations. We need more accountability when it comes to our pets. Like these are parts of our family. There's over 1 billion pets in the world, and that number is only going to rise over the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. So the FDA needs to recognize that like we care for these animals like we care for our children. I don't have any children of my own, so my 2 dogs, Buzz and Sally, are those kids. Much to my parents' chagrin. But
we have 1 billion pets on this planet. And more to come.
More to come.
So when people are looking to get bowls or toys or products, pet products, what are some safe options that are kinder to our planet that you could recommend? It doesn't have to be a name of a company, just types.
Yeah. So the bowls, like I said earlier, go for the stainless steel, go for the ceramics. I don't like eating out of plastic bowls myself, and not just because I've been inundated with information about how bad plastic is. That's part of it. But the other part is it's just healthier. It's actually inert compared to plastic. And you can trust that it's easier to clean as well, and it's not going to pocket as much as plastic does.
Yeah.
Hold in that bacteria. The other simple thing that my wife and I have done, and this kind of caused a little bit of anger at first, was we've spent hundreds of dollars on toys over the years. And then the toys now that my pets have fallen in love with is old ratty t-shirts I had that are made up of 100% cotton or natural fiber, whatever you have, and you're planning on throwing them away. If it's 100% cotton, that's safer for your pet as long as you monitor them. But their favorite thing now is just a t-shirt that's ripped up and then tied into balls, and they'll play with that for hours. And watching it, I was just like, oh, I could have been doing this the entire time. We got this.
Well,
dog
yeah,
in
you got the
college.
tug toy, but I know they make tennis balls for dogs that are made of materials that don't wear down the enamel like the tennis balls you would grab from a tennis court. But what kind of balls would you use that you could wrap an old t-shirt?
Go for all natural rubber balls. So you want natural rubber.
Good.
Natural rubber. That's a safer material than plastic rubber. And it can be hard to find, but there are companies out there, I won't name them directly, but there are companies out there that make 100% natural rubber material. And that natural rubber is safer for our pets. There's less chemicals added to it. There's less unknowns when it comes to the material. It might break down a little bit easier in some cases because of the way that rubber is just naturally, but that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's not breaking down the same way microplastic does.
So, okay, we got toys, we've got the food bowls and the water bowls. There are some people out there that want their Fido to be a Fido fashionista. So shopping for clothes or harnesses for dogs, what kind of tips can you offer?
Avoid polyester, avoid nylon, avoid those materials that sound really cool, sound really futuristic, but in reality are just made up of plastic.
Like your leash. What's the leash? What should the leash be made out of?
See if it's going to be made out of a natural rope fiber like hemp. They make hemp ropes out there. They make cotton ropes. They make sturdier ropes that are just made of materials that aren't nylon or polyester. They can be a little bit harder to find. They also make leather ropes as well. I know some people don't like to use leather, but that is an option if you're trying to avoid plastic.
And collars?
And collars, the same thing. They make leather collars. They make collars out of cotton. They make collars out of hemp. They make collars out of burlap. There's plenty of options for your pet. We have, I think one of my dogs is currently wearing a North Carolina collar made up of cotton and leather. The other one is wearing a space collar that's made up of cotton and leather. And just when it comes to the clothes, and I like to dress my dogs in clothes. Sally, the failed hunting dog, likes to wear sweaters in the winter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but just the materials, right?
The material we use is natural wool. So I went online, looked up, made sure it was actually wool material. And then when it comes to me dressing them in t-shirts, I made sure that it's like an actual cotton rather than those polyester, those synthetic fibers.
I'm digging Sally because I think she knew from the get-go. No, sitting out in a cold marsh and being but I think the couch is a beckoning. So I'm just going to trip up on all these skills for hunting, and I'm going to become a couch dog and hang out with my dad on hikes.
Yep. She loved the heated seats. She loved the heated seats in the truck. It was funny going out there. I was working with a lot of people that hunted all the time, which is whatever, but they would look at that dog and they'd be like, you don't need to take her hunting? I'm like, she won't hunt at all. She won't do anything for me. She's just here to hang out and just look pretty, I guess.
I love her already. So, parting messages. We have people tuning in from all over the globe, and you are on the longest running weekly pet podcast on the planet. O Behave's been on the air since 2007. And somebody named FeedSpot said, we really like you. So voted us one of the top 3 shows. You got some people listening. Give us some more ways that they can find out about this Pets versus Plastic initiative.
Yeah, if you just look up Pets versus Plastic right on your search engine, it should pop up directly. Go to earthday.org. We have it plastered all over the place. I've been pushing our comms team and our social media team as well to just like kept poking them and be like, I want to keep talking about pets. I want to keep talking about pets. I want to keep talking about pets. So it's all over our websites, all over our social media channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, I believe is what it's called now.
Yeah.
As well as just everywhere you can find us. And then just realize that it's not your fault that that this is happening. Plastic is such just intrinsic in our lives now, and it's so hard to avoid, but just start making little changes throughout your life and you start giving a healthier life for yourself and your pets.
So does that mean you would hit the pause button on plastic? Come on, I had to put a pun in there.
Oh, I love you. That was fantastic. I do that to my wife all the time. She's getting real tired of the puns.
You can have that. You can have that one.
I
So
actually
that's
been
what I'm
use
saying.
that for a title. That's just
Good.
what I wrote recently.
The pause button. But yeah, you open my eyes to about before you just go to the store and buy or go on Amazon and order, really pay attention to what the leashes are made out of, the bowls, the toys, the clothing, and there are earth-friendly options.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have natural organ meat that they sell at pet stores and everything, like
Yeah.
a trachea. They sell trachea. Like if you want to feed your pet that, it could be a little smellier. Make sure you do it outside or at least in a contained area, but there are options out there.
All right. Hey, everybody. We have had Aidan Sharon on from earthday.org. He's opened my eyes about some of the things that I didn't realize of the dangers of plastics. I know we love our pets and I know we love our planet Earth. So, Aidan, thank you so much for being on our show. You survived.
Thank you so much. And congrats on, I think, 17 years.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life.
Four-Legged Life.
Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.
Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.